It's commonly taught that animals do not have souls. Most believe that they return to the dust, though some will grant that their life returns to God, be it that we will never see them again. I know it's a common teaching that animals don't have souls because I used to teach it myself until I did some research. I've had dogs that died, dogs that I loved, but that did not deter my belief that animals are soulless. Let's look at some biblical passages concerning animals. First, we should notice that God gave commandments to animals even before he gave commandments to mankind. He also blessed animals before he ever blessed a human being. In Genesis 1:20, God said, "Let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens." So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, and God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." In order for one to obey a commandment, one has to be able to understand a commandment. This shows that some kind of communication is going on between God and the birds, or the animals. Keep this in mind as we continue. God later makes a covenant with the animals in the 9th chapter of Genesis. God spoke to Noah and his sons, saying, "And as for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, and every beast of the earth. Thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth." In Exodus 20:10, in the Ten Commandments themselves, we are told to allow our animals to rest on the Sabbath. "But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall not do work, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates." I think we would all agree that animals have personalities. They have spirit, but do they actually have souls? We have to look at the Hebrew to investigate this properly. The Hebrew word for soul is nephesh. It's used over 400 times as such. What you may not know is that this very same word, nephesh, is used in connection with animals right from the beginning of Genesis, chapter 1:20, and God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let fowl fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." Where it says in English, living creatures, the word there in Hebrew is nephesh. The translators didn't believe that animals have souls, so they concluded that nephesh can also mean any creature that has breath. But that is not how I understood in Hebrew. As a Hebrew teacher, I can assure you that nephesh means soul. If I wanted to say a breathing creature, there are other words that can be used in Hebrew to get that across. It is even repeated in the very next verse, "And God created the great sea monsters and every living creature, nephesh, that creepeth, wherewith the waters swarmed after its kind, and every winged fowl after its kind, and God saw that it was good." There's more evidence. Have you ever wondered why Eve didn't run away when the serpent spoke to her in the Garden of Eden? I'm not afraid of very much, but if any kind of animal started speaking to me, I would run. But Eve doesn't seem shocked at all, and even engages in a conversation with this animal. Later in the Bible, we see another animal that is able to talk. Balaam was beating his donkey when suddenly it turns, and it says, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" Again, we don't get the reaction that we would expect. Balaam doesn't seem to hesitate and talks to his animal as if this is a normal occurrence. Now, we know it wasn't common for animals to speak in Balaam's day, and we have documents that date to the time to prove this. So why wasn't he surprised? It's because he knew that at one time animals were able to speak. He knew the story of Eve and the serpent, and may have even had other scrolls which are lost today, and may have attested to a time when animals could speak. Some theologians say that God was speaking through the donkey, but that's not what the scripture says. The donkey said, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times? Not, "Why are you beating this donkey?" It also says, "Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey." In Hebrew, it is understood that if something is opened, it is once closed. It was once able to speak. This isn't hard to conceive. Humans only use a very small part of their brain, some say 5%, Imagine that what we would be able to do if we could use all of our brain, 100% of it. Likewise, with animals, they only use a small percentage of their brain. When sin entered the universe, we and the animals began to lose the full use of our brains that God gave us. Adam must have had an incredible memory. He was able to name all of the animals in the world and be able to remember all of those names. Some believe he may have been able to do other incredible things using the full capacity of his intelligence. So if animals could speak at one time and reason by asking questions, as did Balaam's donkey, they must have had a soul to do so. I agree they were not made in the image of God, but at least some of them were made in the image of his cherubim and seraphim. Let's look at what the cherubim look like. Cherubims are described as winged beings. The biblical prophet Ezekiel describes the cherubim as a tetrad of living creatures. Each has 4 faces, of a lion, an ox, an eagle, and a man. They have the stature and hands of a man, the feet of a calf, and 4 wings. 2 of the wings extend upward, meeting above and sustaining the throne of God, while the other 2 stretch downward and cover the creatures themselves. So here we have 3 animals represented before there were ever animals on earth. What about the seraphim? Seraphim literally means burning ones. In the Hebrew, seraph, to burn. The word is used for venomous snakes. Refer to Isaiah chapter 30, verse 6. Possibly due to the burning sensation of the poison. It's often used alongside or interchangeably with nachash, a more common and generic term for serpents. You see it used in Numbers chapter 21, verses 6 and 7. It's reasonable to deduce that it is from the seraphim that God created the serpent. Genesis says that the serpent, before it caused Eve to fall, was one of the most beautiful animals in the world. So now we have at least 4 animals created in the image of other beings that were already in heaven. In prophecy, we also should take notice that there are animals during the millennium. We read in Isaiah 11, 6 and 7, "The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the young goat, the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox." One would really have to stretch to think that animals don't go to heaven, as all the signs point that they do. The fact that they have a nefesh, a soul, is enough to prove that they go to heaven, but these other evidences I've shown here add to the point. I don't think there'd be much of a heaven without our beloved pets being there. God would have to erase my memory concerning my pets in order for me to be happy there, and I don't think God would deprive us of that. In Job chapter 12, verses 7 through 10, it states, "But ask the beasts, and they will teach you, the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or the plants of the earth, and they will teach you, and the fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? Is his hand in the life of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind?" So there you have it. This was originally written by a man called Rabbi Stanley. The article's name is "Do Animals Go to Heaven?" I thought it was really interesting. There's the saying by Will Rogers here in the United States, who was a cowboy, an actor, and he said, "How could it be heaven if there was no dogs there?" And I agree with him. I fully expect to see all of my pets waiting for me on God's holy mountain when I get there. And it sure sounds like all the dogs in the neighborhood are sure testifying about the goodness of the Lord as I'm speaking now. I think they know something I don't. Praise be to God. God bless you. God keep you. Bye-bye.